Okay, so welcome to the third lecture of the series. So now we are talking about the governing equations. Now we will look at the equations in the general form. That means we want to write the equations in the general conservation form. So which will club everything together. Okay. So what we have looked at so far is the mass conservation, momentum conservation, energy conservation and energy in different forms. Now we will put everything together in one particular form. So what you can say, let us say the any variable, physical variable phi, that is what we have been doing it, physical variable phi. It could be now your change of phi over delta t time within the material volume mv. Okay. This is what is the left hand side of the system equals to surface flux of phi over delta t across control volume. So that is one term plus source or sink of phi over delta t within control volume. So that is essentially my term 1, that is my term 2 and this is term 3. So if you expand this term 1, so this is nothing but ddt of material volume rho phi dV. So in the integral it be del t of rho phi plus del dot rho b phi dV. Okay. And this rho b phi is the transport of phi by the flow field, or you can say the transport of the property phi due to underlying velocity field over there. Okay. So essentially this is my convection flux. So I will designate that one convection equals to rho b phi. Now I have the similarly the diffusion flux. Okay. So that is minus gamma phi delta phi, or you can say simple gamma delta phi. So my term 2 that becomes minus surface integral j phi dot ds, which is delta dot j phi diffusion flux dV, and if you write over volume it is delta dot gamma delta phi dV. Okay. And term 3 which is the source term essentially. So over the control volume you write QV dV. So this could be any source term, this could be any source term, source or sink term. So it is in the general notation. So if I put this together, then my system will become rho phi plus delta dot rho V dV equals to delta dot gamma delta phi dV plus the source term B. So, you take everything over one integral and then you can write certainly rho V phi minus delta dot gamma delta phi minus q b dV 0. So, which gives me back the system of minus QB equals to 0. Okay. So, if I write them in slightly simplified form, this plus delta dot J phi minus Q phi equals to 0, and J phi is a combination of both my convection plus diffusion fluxes, which is rho V phi minus gamma del phi. So, the equation system will becomes del del T of rho phi plus delta dot rho V phi equals to dot gamma delta phi plus Q phi, and in the other way around, if I put things together, so these two equations are essentially equivalent, and I can write in a generic format like del del T of rho phi plus delta dot J phi equals to source term of phi, and this J phi is the diffusion flux, convection plus diffusion flux due to diffusion. So, this will take care everything in one simple form. So, that means if you look at this particular equation, this can be used for continuity, this can be used for momentum, this can be used for energy, this can be used for species transport equation. So, you take any transport equation, they can be put together in this particular format. Okay. Now, it comes to the normalization of the Navier-Stokes equations or the non-dimensionalization of the Navier-Stokes equation. So, if you just consider a Cartesian coordinate system, Cartesian 3D coordinate system, okay, and if you consider that as a sign convention x, y, z, then you have a continuity equation, okay. Then I have a momentum equation, I mean basically x momentum equation, del u plus del y plus del del z rho w equals to minus del p del x plus mu del t u by del x 2 plus del 2 u by del y 2 del 2 u by del z 2. Similarly, my y momentum equation would be del rho v plus del del x of rho u v del del y of rho v v minus del p del z plus mu del 2 v by del x 2 and if you have a source term, so just this one you put x, this one y, this one z. So, the source term acted in this direction, gravity. So, you take rho g in the y momentum equation, and del T of rho w plus rho u w rho v w z plus and the temperature equations, if you write Cp del T rho T plus del x of rho u T rho v T equals to kappa delta T 2 x 2 plus. So, here the temperature equation does not have any source term, and if you look at the complete set of equations, they are in a conservative form. Now, to non-dimensionalize the system, you need the referencing velocity. So, that is you say that you reference the referencing length scale, that is L reference, then you have viscosity mu rep, density reference. So, all these reference scales you use. Now, the velocity that you need to scale by the, so one is the scaling of the velocity, and then the scaling of the, one is scaling of velocity, another is the scaling of pressure. So, once you do this scaling and then we use them in the equation system. Okay. Now, one more important thing that will come is that, so obviously you will have a time scale and all these things. Now, that since we are using the temperature equation, that delta T with the reference temperature, that you take into account. So, T infinity is your reference temperature, and the density variation if you take with respect to temperature. So, you take with the Taylor series expansion with the only retaining the first order term, and this beta is defined as the coefficient of volumetric expansion. This is coefficient of volumetric expansion. So, you take the beta is 1 by rho d rho by at constant pressure. So, rho becomes rho infinity 1 minus beta T minus T infinity. Okay. So, using that you actually substitute this one in y momentum equation. Okay. So, then your scaling parameters. So, one is the first thing will be the x, the scaled x would be x by L, y is y by L, z is z by L. Then the velocity scaling u would be u by mu by rho L. Similarly, v is v by mu by rho L. Then w is w by mu by rho L. Then your time T divided by rho L square by mu, pressure is P plus rho g y divided by mu square rho L square, and temperature T minus T infinity divided by T max minus T infinity. Okay. So, all this tilde represents the scaled or non-dimensional values. Now, if you put them back together, for example, let us say if I take the first derivative or del u by del x, which is essentially going to be del of mu u hat divided by rho L x hat. So, if you take that mu by rho L outside and L outside, this will become rho u hat by del x hat. So, essentially this is mu by rho L square del u hat by del x hat. Similarly, I can done the del T of rho u. So, del T of rho u would be del of mu u hat L divided by del of rho L square T hat by mu, mu by L divided by rho L square by mu. So, this will become del u hat by del T hat. So, essentially this is mu square divided by rho L cube del u hat by del T hat. Okay. Similarly, you can have a term with del T of rho u, because this is there in my momentum equation. So, this would be del mu square by rho L square u hat divided by del L x hat. So, it becomes mu square finally by rho L cube del u hat by del x hat. So, you can do other terms also, like for example, if you do the pressure term. So, this will become P plus rho g y divided by mu square by rho L square. So, if you transform them and then take the term of del P by del x, this will become mu square by rho L cube del P hat by del x hat. Now, diffusion term mu del 2 u by del x 2. So, that would be mu del 2 u hat by rho L hat square. So, finally, it becomes mu square divided by rho L cube del 2 u hat divided by del x square. And the final term, that is rho g beta T minus T infinity. So, that becomes rho g beta T max minus T infinity T hat. So, this would be rho g beta delta T T infinity. Okay. And one more term in the energy equation, if you look. So, you will have the term del T of rho T. So, this will become mu delta T divided by L square del T by del T hat. So, similarly, if you put and if you transform and substitute all these back, to the system of equation. So, your continuity equation becomes now only del. So, there is no change with the continuity equation except the hat. So, this is my non-dimensional form of continuity equation. X momentum equation, so that becomes del del t of u hat del del x hat u hat plus del del y hat u hat v hat plus del del z hat u hat w hat equals to minus del p hat by del x hat plus del 2 u by del square plus del 2 v by square by del square. Now, my y momentum equation, that becomes del v hat by del t plus del x hat u hat v hat plus del y hat then del equals to minus del p hat plus del 2 del 2 v hat by del y2 square plus Grashof number with t hat. So, look at this particular term. So, that is a non-dimensional term or parameter which is coming there, and z momentum equation will be again similar. So, there will be no extra term. Plus the diffusion term. And the temperature equations, that becomes del t hat by del t plus del y hat p hat t hat plus equals to 1 by Prandtl number into del t hat square plus del 2 square. So, if you look at it, there is another component or the term which comes in the temperature equation. So, essentially your Grashof number is g beta delta t L cube by nu square, and Prandtl number is mu Cp by k, where nu is your mu by rho. This is kinematic viscosity, this is dynamic viscosity, this is density. So, once you do the non-dimensionalization, then you come across with different non-dimensional parameters. So, what are those non-dimensional parameters? So, one of the important non-dimensional parameter which come across is the first thing is the Reynolds number. Okay. So, Reynolds number is one parameter which is typically represented at Re, which will be rho u L by mu. So, essentially this is a ratio of two forces. One is the inertia forces to the viscous forces. So, that actually dictates if the flow is laminar or turbulent depending on the Reynolds number, and where the Reynolds number is going to be dominant. Let us say for example, if you look at a flow over a flat plate, the flow actually propagates like that, and through after some region it goes like that. So, this particular region up to some Reynolds number, this is a boundary of Reynolds number 1, then this is a Reynolds number 2. So, in this zone the flow is laminar, then this zone it is turbulent. So, depending on actually the Reynolds number, one can classify the flow to be laminar or turbulent. Now, the other parameter which is coming is the Grashof number. So, Grashof number is nothing but the ratio of the buoyant forces to the viscous forces. So, this appears due to non-dimensionalized in the equation of the temperature equation. Now, Prandtl number. Prandtl number is another non-dimensional number which is essentially the ratio between momentum diffusivity to thermal diffusivity. So, if you look at the Prandtl number, this will be mu Cp by K, essentially I can write that nu by alpha. Okay. Now, depending on the Prandtl number, so Prandtl number could be greater than 1 or Prandtl number could be less than 1. Now, depending on the Prandtl number, actually it is a ratio between, if the same flow, if you look at it and the flow evolves over a flat plate, then these are the two layers. Okay. If Prandtl number is less than 1, that means your momentum diffusivity is less than the thermal diffusivity. So, this will be your hydrodynamic layer or boundary layer, and this is your thermal boundary layer. While Prandtl number will become greater than 1, this would be completely reverse. So, then your now another non-dimensional number is called the Peclet number. So, the Peclet number typically is represented by Pe, and this is rho u L Cp by K. Essentially it is a product of Reynolds number into Prandtl number. So, it is a ratio of advective transport rate to its diffusive transport rate. So, it is a ratio between these two things, and this would be the number which will be very important while we will be actually doing the finite volume discretizations, and over a cell we will look at what is the conditions on Peclet number. Now, once you go back, then there will be another number called the Smith number. So, that is SC. This is again the ratio of the momentum diffusivity to mass diffusivity. So, this is momentum diffusivity to mass diffusivity. So, this will be another important parameter when people look at the species mass transfer equation. Now, in the heat transfer there will be an non-dimensional number which you will require is the Nusselt number. So, Nusselt number is estimated at HL by K. So, where H is your convective heat transfer coefficient. now one more for the case of Mach number. So, this essentially is the ratio of your sound speed to the velocity scale, and A is your sound speed at a given temperature, and you can estimate is a gamma del p by del rho at a typically this is gamma r t. So, these are the number that comes across, and this will determine whether the flow is subsonic, supersonic, sonic or supersonic. So, depending on the Mach number you can define different regime of the flow field. Okay. So, this is another number which appear in the heat transfer problem is the Eckert number. So, that actually correlate the kinetic energy to the flow enthalpy. So, it is essentially the kinetic energy ratio of the kinetic energy to flow enthalpy. So, this is, and when you talk about the hydrodynamics, then you get Froude number, which is typically represented Fr, which is ratio between U by root GL. So, it is a characteristics velocity, scale between characteristics velocity to the gravitational wave velocity. It is a ratio between these two numbers, and when you deal with the multi-phase system, then you come across Weber number, which is rho u square by L by sigma, which is the ratio between inertia forces to surface tension forces. So, these are the non-dimensional number that actually you need to know when you actually non-dimensionalize the system. So, now once you non-dimensionalize the system under different condition, you come across different number, and this is where you need. So, what we have talked so far is the all the governing equations and their non-dimensionalizations, and once you do the non-dimensionalization, though what kind of number you come across. So, now we will move to the second part of it, this is the discretization process. So, once you go there, then we will look at the discretization process. Now, what we talk in the discretization process? So, essentially in the discretization process we will be talking on modeling of the geometric domain and the physical problem of interest, that essentially again coming back to your calculation of the CFD related work, that when you have a problem in hand, how do you convert them to the mathematical problem or the linear system and finally get the solution. So, there we will be discussing the geometric domain and physical domain. So, one is the geometric domain is the physical problem that it will represent, and the physical phenomena of interest, that means it could be flow through channel, it could be flow around your automobile vehicle, it could be flow through ventilational duct, anything. So, one case it is has a bifurcation of geometric domain and then the physical problem. Then you need to discretize the geometric domain into grid or mesh. So, this is one very important point, that means once I have a geometric domain in hand, so I need to make them in finite number of grid, or we sometimes call it a mesh. So, over which we will have the solution. Then you actually discretize the numerical equation to get a linear system. So, this is where your physical problem of interest through the mathematical technique getting transferred to a linear system. Once you get transferred to a linear system, you get a solution of the linear system. So, essentially this is the solution that you are looking for of a linear system. So, in the discretization process, we will see how a physical problem is transferred to a linear system. Now, if you look at the problem, so essentially one hand you have this physical problem and this is the physical phenomena. So, once you have a physical problem in hand, so the physical problem does not come without a physical phenomena. So, that means if I have a flow through a channel, the physical domain is the channel and the physical phenomena is the flow which is going through that channel. Now, this is physical domain will have a domain modeling and the physical phenomena will have a physical modeling. So, physical modeling means essentially you are going to have the set of governing equations or the physical equations that will actually represent this physical process. Okay. So, this will actually take care of the governing equations. Now, that will lead to a set of governing equations defined on the computational domain or computational grid or mesh, whatever you call it. So, essentially the physical problem now getting transferred to a computational system. Now, you have again two set of system. One hand you need to discretize the domain. This is called the domain discretization. That means, if I have a channel like this, so I have to discretize this one, and the domain discretizations will lead to a different kind of grid, and that we have already talked in our previous lectures, that what kind of grid you end up with. It could be structure grid, it could be block structure grid, it could be unstructured grid, and then you have a governing equations which actually you discretize through different schemes. Okay. Then you get to the linear system which is Ax equals to b, and then finally you have a different solution method. So, solution method could be multiple, because how I can solve this linear system, it could be direct solver or it could be linear solver, a iterative solver. So, it could be iterative solver. Then once you get the numerical solution, that will actually represent your physical phenomena. Okay. So, this is how you get the system going. Now, you haven't taken example and see how things actually move on. So, here is a base of heat spreader. This portion is the heat sink and this is a another patch there. So, it is essentially a microprocessor. Now, if you look at the domain modeling, so domain modeling, if you look at it, so this is the how you look the domain modeling. This is my microprocessor, this is my heat sink and this is the heat spreader base. Essentially the heat spreader base is a kind of an L-shaped base where I have a heat sink, where I have a microprocessor. What does my physical modeling do? Physical modeling essentially talks about my governing equations or the equations that represents the phenomena. So, physical modeling essentially does that. That means I come up with the equation which can represent this physical process. So, if you look at this heat spreader base, one hand I have a sink, that means it is going to be the energy absorber, then I have a microprocessor which might be generating the heat. So, I will be essentially solving a steady state heat conduction equation with a heat generation term. Why there is a heat generation term? Because the microprocessor sitting in this heat spreader base, it is going to be, so this is going to be the heat generator and this is going to be the heat sink. So, both the condition is there, so I have to solve that Now when you come down to the domain discretizations, how do you discretize these things? So the spreader base is discretized with some sort of a finite elements or the some structured elements or control volumes. So these are individual control volume. So you define them in a regular control volume, and this is a patch. This patch is nothing but my heat sink, and this is patch 3, which is the microprocessor. This would be heat source. Okay. Now equation discretizations, I have the governing equations with source term. So I have an unsteady term and convection term, diffusion term, this term, but in this case it is a steady state case. So that I do not have any contribution from this term. So finally it comes down to some sort of a, this is a algebraic equation. Okay. And if you look at that, this would be put together in this kind of a matrix form, and this is in a particular one control volume which can represent through this kind of estimate. Now if you look at the complete picture here, this is my problem of interest, where I have a spreader base, I have a microprocessor which is actually heat generator, I have a heat sink, then domain discretizations actually take care of the whole domain, physical modeling actually gives back to my equations, finally domain discretizations takes into account the control volumes, then you come down to a linear system and you get a solution which will be the physical phenomena. So that is how the whole process actually works. Now if you look at the geometry or physical modeling, so geometric and physical modeling, what we are doing this actually it simplifies the system, then it takes care the governing equations, that means the PDEs which represent the physical phenomena. Okay. So that is what we do, and in this case you have a steady state heat conduction equation with a source term. This is my PDE. Okay. So first step is the geometric and physical modeling. So the geometric modeling, we identify heat source, we identify heat sink, we identify the other domain constants, and the physical modeling will get back to the equations. Now the second step would be the domain discretizations. How do you do the domain discretizations? Now the second step is very important in the sense how you look at the system or you discretize the domain. So this is my complete spreader base, this is a L shape base, this portion is the heat sink. So I have a boundary condition of T sink, this is the heat generator of the microprocessor. So there is a boundary condition of the microprocessor, then the outside is insulated, that means no heat is going out. So this is stopped, there is no heat flux, so that is 0. So this is the domain that I have to discretize. So essentially you can think about this picture actually represent your computational domain. Okay. This will actually take care of my physical problem in hand, because this microprocessor will be the heat generator, this guy will be the heat sink, and then I have insulated base. So that actually takes care of my computational domain. Now the second part is the generation of the computational maths. So this portion I have a boundary condition, at the heat source portion I have a boundary condition, then there is a boundary condition. Then if I discretize them with a structure control volume, Okay. So, this looks computational mesh. So, this is structured mesh or quadrilateral mesh, or other option, this could be option 2. So, this is one option. Other option is that still I can maintain this, these are the two patches, one is heat sink and one is the heat sink, another is the heat source, this is insulated base, and I can generate unstructured grid. So, this is also one sort of computational mesh, but it is unstructured. Okay. So, in a domain decomposition step, that means in step 2 you identify the computational domain, then you generate the grid, either structured grid. If it is a geometrically it is simpler, then you can generate structured grid. If it is geometrically not simpler, then you can use unstructured grid to generate the domain. Now, if you identify them with the all sort of points, now if you consider that structured grid, if you consider that structured grid with the quadrilateral elements, okay. So, these points, all nodal points in this particular computational domain, they actually represent the mesh vertices. Okay. This is my one individual computational control volume. So, this is one of my control volume, and the control volume is connected with 4 vertices. So, these are called mesh vertices, and when this control volume is connected like this, that forms the essentially the mesh. Okay. Now, second picture, if you look at it, then each of these control volume are having 4 different phases. For example, if you look at this particular control volume, now this gives you the idea about these phases. So, these are phases of control volume, and what it helps, individual control volume are connected with 4 phases, and these phases are going to be very, very important as we see down the line of these lectures, that we need to have the understanding of these particular phases. Okay. And finally, if we look at it, or if you mark this whole thing 1, 2, 3, 4, these are all essentially control volume or elements, where I am going to have the solution done, and this will be my boundary condition for the sink, this would be the boundary condition for the source, this is the insulated boundary. Okay. So, now I can have the mesh details. Now, mesh details, one could be the important thing is the element connectivity. Okay. So, element connectivity, if I look at this particular condition, so this is my domain and I divide into 9 element. This is C, let us say this is there, all this is F1, F2, F3, F4. Okay. So, this is around C. If you look at the neighbors, so neighbors are 10, 4, 8, 15. So, based on the numbers. Okay. So, you can have faces, these are the faces, okay, and these are the vertices. Now, one could be the phase connectivity. So, when you talk about the element connectivity, you need to keep track of the elements. That means, one particular element once you consider, you need to see what are the neighbors. Now, phase connectivity, if I just look at this situation, okay, here is a element, this is a element, these are the element. So, this is E1, let us say, this is E2, then the neighbor of E1 is E2 and the connectivity of this is the phase. So, one hand it can go, this normal of this phase goes like this. So, E1 and E2 they are connected to each other, they are neighbor, and the F is the corresponding phase. And another way you can have the vertex connectivity. Okay. So, the vertex connectivity means if I have, let us say, this 4 element system, okay, and these are there. Now, vertex connectivity would be if I connect this with these points. So, this is called the vertex connectivity of the system, and once you take them into the complete domain. So, this is my, if you look at this particular some example of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I am interested in the element 3. Now, element 3, the equation if I discretize. So, do not worry about this discretization or the discretized equation, we will see how we get back this equation. If you look at element 3, what are the neighbors? So, neighbors are 2, 5, 1. Because why we are calling it the neighbors 2, 5, 1, not the 4? Because the element 3 and 2 they are having a common phase of F. This is the common phase. Element 3 and 1 there is a common phase. Element 5 and 6 there is a common phase. But if I look at element 3 and 4, they are connected with one common vertex, but they are connected with common phases. So, neighboring elements, these are neighboring elements, not neighboring vertex. So, you can say this is F1, if I go by that, this is F2, this is F3, that means these are the phases, and I can write down my equation for that. Okay. And if you look at in the complete system, this probably, so the equation is talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, all the elements the equations are written, and any somewhere between that one line will represent for the element 3. So, that means when you actually discretize the system like this and you get back to the complete, when you actually put them together, you get a system, overall linear system like this, and all this in this particular system, every individual elements they are taken into consideration. Now, if you go to the equation discretizations, so what is the equation? Basically, I need to solve A x equals to b, and here x is nothing but my t. So, I can say A t equals to b, that is what I am trying to solve. Okay. And where I am trying to solve? I am trying to solve over this particular computational domain, and these are all my individual element. This patch 2 is the T sink, this is T source, and this is Q flux is 0. Now, here if you look at all these interiors points are 1, 2, 3 to 25, these are marked. Okay. Patch 1 having some points, patch 2 having certain points, patch 3. So, I have to make a demarcation of these phases, because these phases I have boundary conditions. So, once you make a demarcation of these phases, you actually now look at the tensile. So, what equation you are going to solve here for all these points is the delta dot k delta t dV equals to q dot dV. So, this is my equation, and this equation is valid inside the domain as well as at these phases, but these phases there will be boundary condition for t. So, I have to apply my boundary condition to have this. Now, when you look at the discretization stencil, so this is how you number the element. So, basically this could be 1, this could be 2, that is how you sequentially number the elements, and once you take an individual element, around that you mark the faces. Not only the faces, what you have to mark is that the corresponding neighboring element. These elements are very important to keep track of it, because these neighboring elements are going to. So, now if I write down the equation, let us say I will write down the equation for C. There is a element, this particular element, if I concentrate on that particular element. So, my equation would be minus k surface delta t dot ds equals to q dot Vc. Okay. So, if I do that summation, so around that C, this is k delta t dot Sf equals to q dot C Vc, okay, and this F goes over that surface. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the surface. So, the summation would be over those surfaces. So, if I write that k delta t of surface 1 dot Sf1 minus k delta t F2 dot Sf2 minus k delta t F3 dot Sf3 minus k delta t F4 dot Sf4 equals to q dot C Vc. So, this is my, now you see my steady state heat conduction equation boils down to this mathematical expression. Now, what is my Sf1? Sf1 would be delta y F1 I. Okay. So, if you look at it, that particular element C, now I am dividing this in the x direction, this is small x, the uniform width, and this is delta y, then my Sf1 would be delta y F1 I, my delta x F1 would be x F1 my minus xc. So, this is the distance between this, F1 is the neighboring cell on the upstream side, and delta t F1 is nothing but del t by del x F1 I plus del t by del y F1 j. Now, what is xc? xc is the coordinate of element C, xf is the x coordinate of F1 element, then you have delta y F1, delta y F1 is the area of face F1, and S F1 is the surface vector of F1, and then delta t F1 is the gradient of T1. So, this is how it transformed to the system. Now, we will stop here today and then take it up in the following lecture. From here, how we proceed to get that final linear system.